Have you ever looked at a neck anatomy diagram and just completely blanked? Like there are so many muscles, veins, and nerves packed in there, it can feel totally overwhelming. Well, welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to completely demystify the triangles of the neck anatomy, hitting all the absolutely crucial structures beginners and students need to know. Let's get right into it. So, you might be wondering, why on earth is your neck mapped out in these hidden, invisible triangles? Why not just look at the muscles and skin? Well, the neck is a highly condensed bottleneck for your body. By breaking it down into geometric boundaries, clinicians can safely navigate to specific organs, find vital pulses, and, most importantly, avoid cutting crucial nerves during surgery. It is literally a functional treasure map of the human body. Okay, let's dive straight into this master map. The overall real estate we're exploring is bounded by the jawline, or mandible, up top, and the clavicle, your collarbone, down below. The midline of the neck forms the center boundary, while the trapezius muscle creates the outer back edge. Within this main area, we've got a whole network of smaller triangles that organize everything from your windpipe to the primary blood supply heading up to your brain. Now, to make sense of this map, you've got to meet the great divider. It's called the sternocleidomastoid muscle. Yeah, I know, it's a total mouthful, but think of it as the great border wall of the neck. It's a really thick, prominent muscle passing obliquely across the neck, stretching from the sternum and clavicle at the bottom all the way up to the mastoid process just behind your ear. This single muscle effectively divides the neck's geography into two major territories on each side, the anterior triangle, which is kind of like the front yard, and the posterior triangle, our backyard. Here is where it gets really interesting. Let's look at that front yard, the anterior space. We can actually subdivide this area into four even smaller, densely packed functional zones. We're going to start off with the carotid triangle. This is a critical area bounded by three specific muscle edges: the posterior belly of the digastric muscle on top, the superior belly of the omohyoid in the front, and the upper aspect of our great divider, the sternocleidomastoid, in the back. You can think of the carotid triangle as the main highway for blood traveling up to your brain. Inside this space, we find the common carotid artery splitting into the internal and external carotid arteries. And traveling right alongside these highways is the internal jugular vein, bringing blood back down. But wait, there's also some major wiring here, the vagus nerve. Fun fact, vagus actually means wanderer in Latin, which makes total sense because this massive nerve literally wanders all the way down to send signals to your heart and digestive tract, tucked safely right next to these blood vessels. Moving just below that, we find the muscular triangle, which is sometimes called the omotracheal triangle. This space sits slightly lower down, just beneath the hyoid bone, right smack in the midline of the neck. Its borders are the neck's midline itself, the superior belly of the omohyoid muscle, and the lower part of the sternocleidomastoid. Now, if the carotid triangle was the highway, the muscular triangle is the literal plumbing and machinery of the neck. This section contains the organs keeping you alive minute to minute. We're talking about your airway, so the larynx and trachea. We're talking about your food pipe, the esophagus. Plus, it securely houses your thyroid and parathyroid glands, which control your metabolism, along with the blood vessels that feed them. Okay, this next part, absolutely crucial for doctors. Let's shift our focus upward to an area clinicians are checking all the time when you're feeling sick. We are talking about the submandibular triangle. It sits snugly right under the body of the mandible, your jawbone. It's neatly framed into a little V shape by two muscle bellies, the anterior and posterior bellies of the digastric muscle. It's kind of a hidden pocket right beneath the curve of your jaw. So what's actually inside this pocket? Well, we find your salivary glands and a complex network of facial vessels. But here's the really relatable part. It also holds an array of lymph nodes. When you have a sore throat and your doctor is pressing on your neck right under your jaw, they are palpating this exact triangle to see if those immune filters are swollen. And that brings us to the final front section, the tiny submental triangle. This one rests right under the chin, directly on the midline of the neck. It's bounded laterally by the anterior bellies of the digastric muscle, and its base rests flat right on the hyoid bone. While it is the smallest triangle we've covered, structurally, it's fascinating. Its floor is made entirely of the mylohyoid muscle, and inside it securely houses the starting point of the anterior jugular vein, even more immune-filtering lymph nodes, and the submental nerve wiring. All right, so we've fully mapped the front yard. But we simply cannot ignore the complex, highly sensitive space located just behind our great border wall. What about the backyard? This brings us to the posterior triangle, also known as the lateral triangle because it sits mainly on the side of the neck. It's framed by the sternocleidomastoid muscle in the front, the trapezius muscle in the back, and the middle third of the clavicle forms the base right below it. This backyard area is actually subdivided by the omohyoid muscle into the occipital and subclavian triangles. Functionally, this zone is a massive transit area for your nervous system. It protects heavy nerve networks like the brachial plexus, which is the main bundle of wiring sending motor and sensory signals all the way from your spinal cord down into your arms and hands. It also houses the accessory nerve and vital vessels like the external jugular vein. So let's put them side by side. The anterior triangle is largely about organ plumbing, the airway, the esophagus, the thyroid, and major blood flow heading straight up to the brain. In contrast, the posterior triangle is the central hub for major peripheral nervous system wiring heading down to your upper limbs. To wrap up this explainer, let's lock in our 4 key takeaways. First, the neck features 2 main regions, anterior and posterior. Second, the sternocleidomastoid muscle is the great divider between them. Third, the subtriangles map out specific organs, blood highways, and nerve wires. And finally, these geographical triangles are absolutely vital roadmaps, proving that in human anatomy, structure perfectly dictates function. I want to leave you with one final, provocative thought. If the sternocleidomastoid is our great dividing wall that keeps the front yard and the backyard perfectly organized, what do you think happens to all these delicate highways, plumbing, and wires when that specific muscle gets injured or spasms? Think about it. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to subscribe for more simple medical explanations, and we'll see you in the next explainer.